Okay, welcome to a new episode of Nate's MMA Corner. I'm Nate, and if you watch my show, you're in my corner. Today's episode is a post-fight show for UFC 219 Cyborg versus Holm for the UFC Featherweight Championship of the World. And yeah, this is a post-fight rundown in the main card, of course. Wow, I went 3-2 on my predictions for this main card. And this was a pretty good card altogether. Wow, I was shocked at Carlos Esparza's performance, how good she looked tonight. Yeah, let's get started with the main event, though. In the main event, we had Cyborg defending the UFC Featherweight Championship of the World up against Holm. This was a barn burner. This went all 5 rounds. Cyborg outstruck Holm every single round in dominant fashion. However, the judges gave it 48-47. 2 of the 3 judges gave it 48-47 for Cyborg, and then the other one gave it, I believe, was 49-46. I don't see how the judges got those scores. It should have been 50-45. It was clear that Cyborg was outstriking Holm, and she looked amazing. But Holm hung in there, and she went for it, and she was really trying to get that knockout, and she was going for it, and you got to give her props. Still a big Holm fan as well. I couldn't argue with the performance of both these ladies. They both went in there and left it all in the octagon. And then, so Cyborg wins by unanimous decision, getting her first UFC title defense in the featherweight division. Then in the co-main event, we had Khabib Nurmagomedov versus Edson Barboza. This match pretty much turned out the way I thought. Edson would throw some flashy kicks, and Khabib would capitalize with some takedowns and get him up against the cage and ground and pound and go for submissions, and Barboza would defend the submissions. And that's pretty much how it played out every round. And Khabib got the unanimous decision nod by a landslide, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Then that was in the lightweight division in the co-main event, and then also in the lightweight division on this main card we had Dan Hooker versus Mark decays. And I thought Mark decays was going to win by a flashy knockout here, but Dan Hooker used his killer submission skills and got 3rd round guillotine choke. It was pretty amazing. I didn't think it was going to happen. It went kind of back and forth for the first couple rounds. It looked like Mark decays was landing some good strikes in both of the first 2 rounds. But there were moments where Dan Hooker had his own moments as well, and he got 3rd round submission, and he went for it in that 3rd and final round, you could tell. So props to Dan Hooker, and can't wait to see more of Dan Hooker and also Mark decays, because I think Mark decays is going to learn from this loss, and he's only had 2 losses in his career, his overall MMA career, so he still has a long career ahead of him, and he's still a fairly young guy. Then also we had Carlos Esparza versus Cynthia Caballo, and I thought Cynthia was going to win this by unanimous decision, but Carlos Esparza really went for it, and she got a good reversal. I believe it was in the 1st round. And then Carlos Esparza landed some good strikes in rounds 2 and 3. Rounds 2 and 3 were definitely Carlos Esparza's rounds, and she looked good just all around with takedowns and her stand-up skills, and she squeaked out a decision victory. It was a good win for Carlos Esparza, and it moves her definitely in title contention as far as I'm concerned. She, I believe, was ranked number 9 going into this fight, going up against number 6 Cynthia Caballo, so she definitely goes into, from the look of things, that top 6 in the UFC strawweight division. And I think she's a fight or 2 away from getting another title shot in the UFC. Then, to kick off the main card, we had Magny versus Carlos Condit in the welterweight division. This fight was pretty much what I thought it was. It was back and forth striking, but Magny got some killer takedowns in the later rounds. I believe it was like 3 takedowns in one of the rounds, and Magny looked like a beast in this fight. and he looked like he definitely belongs in the top 10 of that welterweight division, and he needed this win too. And this is probably the biggest win of Neil Magny's career. And so, yeah, Neil Magny won, unanimous decision on this one. And can't wait to see more Neil Magny. And also can't wait to see what Carlos Condit has next for his career. See if he wants to retire or continue on, or maybe fight some mid-tier guys to help build up his record, or just go all out and fight the top guys still, or who knows. So it'll be exciting to see what happens. But yeah, that wraps up the post-fight show for UFC 219, and stay tuned in the coming time for Doo Ho Choi versus Jeremy Stephens UFC Fight Night pre-fight show. That's a couple weeks away, so eventually I'll do a pre-fight for that one. Until then, see ya.